Yes, sirree. A very good Monday morning to you. Happy Whitsuntide. And welcome to today's edition of Good Day Grenada. I'm George Grant. And folks, today happens to be a public holiday here. And so far, man, just took a look outside there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sunshine. I would imagine that lots of you are going to be putting this great weather to good use, probably heading off to the beaches. And I know that a lot of you are going to be, well, probably sleeping this morning, so you're not seeing or hearing us. A lot of people were out at Quarantine Point last night for the finale of the Grenada Music Festival. And I don't know what time it ended, but you heard, those of you who were with us yesterday, you heard Kennedy Roberts say that they had planned on going right through the night. One way or another, I guess they're going to be trying to get caught up on their sleep. But I am honored that you're spending your Whitsuntide Monday with us, at least for those of you here in Grenada. Have a great day. And those of you elsewhere as well, please enjoy your day. Now, let's take a look at the rundown. See what's cooking here this morning over the next hour. We're going to be taking a look at the Atlantic hurricane season. So far, the basin looks pretty quiet out there, and let's hope that it stays that way for as long as possible. Nothing happening right now, but doesn't mean you should let your guard down. Doesn't mean that nothing's going to happen. You know, old people have a saying, what ain't meet you, ain't pass you. Yeah, you've heard that. Well. Let's be thankful. We do have the national report for you, which came in on Friday night. And so we're going to bring that to you this morning. And in the second half of our program, don't want to miss this, pilgrims. Yesterday I had promised you that we were going to run a segment from last Thursday night's MECWE Chat, where the usual suspects were discussing in depth, and what a discussion that was. They were talking about universal health care. And I thought, whoa, Grenada needs to hear all of that stuff. Well, it's up on the GRENADABROADCAST.com website. If you go to the archive section under MECWE Chat, you'll still be able to view that in its entirety. However, yesterday, we had one of the participants who took part in that program on Thursday, a gentleman by the name of Kennedy Roberts. And he was in here to discuss the plans for the upcoming convention of the National Democratic Congress. But I figured, since I had him sitting here, why don't we also talk a little bit about universal health care? The man is a very strong advocate for universal health care. And the discussion we had, I thought, if not equaled, overshadowed the conversation that we had on Thursday night. So I thought, you know what? This morning, let me run that by these folks again, okay? In any event, both are going to be up on the website so you can check them out, all right? Now, that's it as far as the rundown is concerned, and Kennedy is going to be up in the second half of the program. Let's get down. Oh, let me say good morning, first of all, to hello there, Margaret, my friend. She says good morning from an overcast Gotham. Yeah? Kind of cloudy up there? Well, Mags, your turn. We've had quite a bit of cloudy skies down here. And even though we haven't had an awful lot of rain, we've had sprinkles here and there, and you could see it, you could feel it. There's a change in the air. The rainy season is here. It is. It is. Donna Joseph, hello there, Donna. How are you? She's saying good morning to all of us. Good to see you, Donna. Thank you so much. So let's get down to brass tacks. Now, despite the fact that there has already been one tropical storm for the 2019 hurricane season, thus far, things remain relatively quiet. Keep your pinkies crossed. Dry air and dust coming off the coast of Africa, and cooler sea surface temperatures over the eastern Atlantic create conditions that are not conducive for tropical development over the eastern Atlantic for the month of June. Ain't that good news? Today happens to be what, the 10th of June? And they're saying for the month of June, the Atlantic should remain pretty quiet. Let's hope that they are right. And then at the end of June, they'll say to us, conditions show that things should remain quiet for the month of July. Let's say thank you. Current long-range computer forecasts do not show much change in this pattern through the next 6 to 10 days, and therefore, tropical development is not expected across the Atlantic Basin through at least next weekend. Okay? So, ain't that great news? Since we're talking about the hurricane season, let's just throw out a couple of things that you really need to be thinking about, okay? And yeah, I know the season has already started, but it's really not too late. One of the things you need to do is make sure that your insurance policy is intact. You don't want to wait until your house gets torn to shreds and then you decide, oh my God, how am I going to pay to rebuild this? You also need to have a good supply of prescription medications. If you're on medications and a storm hits, you don't want to have to go out there and climb over down trees and a whole lot of debris and everything to try and get to a pharmacy. And you can imagine the lineups there would be at that pharmacy. So please try and get your medications stocked up. Now this one's very interesting. You need to have a good supply of drinking water. What do I mean a good supply of drinking water? In the event of a hurricane, the water is more likely than not, to become contaminated, especially depending on where you live. And one of the ways of dealing with that situation is by using chlorine. Put a few drops of chlorine. It says here up to about 4 milligrams per liter are considered safe in drinking water. At that level, no harmful health effects are likely to occur. Chlorinated water can taste and smell differently than untreated water. Some people like the taste and smell of chlorinated water. Others do not. Taste and smell problems may arise depending upon the water quality and the amount of chlorine you put. Like, you're not going to take a teacup of water and then put another half cup of chlorine in there, are you? Please, don't do that. Current studies indicate that using or drinking water with small amounts of chlorine does not cause harmful health effects and provides protection against waterborne diseases. Okay? So that's it as far as your good supply of water is concerned. Another thing you need to look out for in the event of a hurricane or just a storm: power lines. usually come down. And sometimes in the mad rush to get from one place to another, you come across these power lines. They may be obstructing the way, and you go, try and move them. Don't do that. Don't do that, okay? Those lines may still be live, and you get zapped. So you survive the hurricane, and then go grab a power line, case closed. Make provision for the care of your pets. A lot of people make great plans, protect their family and whatever, and they leave their poor little doggies and cats on their own. Don't do that, especially for you pet lovers out there, okay? And finally, I'm going to ask you to do this. Once the storm has passed, you've made sure that, okay, things seem kind of okay around here, please check on your neighbors. They may not have been as fortunate as you are, okay? So please, be a good neighbor. Check on the people in your neighborhood. They may need your help. All right. So, let me turn now back to social media. Good morning, Mr. Darbo. How are you, sir? I would imagine that you were down at Queen's Park for the Whitsuntide games on the weekend, and he's saying good Whit Monday morning. I haven't heard much. I was scouting around on Google last night trying to find some content about the Whitsuntide game so that I could share with you this morning. Margaret says, yeah, rain and thunder showers expected at some point during the day. Uh-oh, Margaret. Uh-oh. Well, I would imagine that being the type of person you are, you're well prepared, because you usually look ahead, don't you? And so you are all decked off in your raincoat and everything. Fitzroy Adams is saying good morning from a rainy New York. And, how do I pronounce this? Ahama, A-H-A-M-A. Ahama Rayburn is saying good morning, George and listeners. I don't recall seeing Ahama before. You've probably been here, but I don't remember seeing you before. But welcome back, anyway. Anthony DeRiggs, hello there, Tony. He's saying good morning. I think Grenada must always look out for those storms, but August and September are the months that have not been kind to us. Yes, Anthony, that's absolutely true. Those are the, quote, wicked months, unquote, if you will. But you know something, Guy? History shows that there have been some nasty buggers come around before that. Yeah? He goes on to say, anyway, something is telling me that this will not be a good year for Caribbean storms, despite the forecast. Anthony, please don't break my heart. Anthony, I hope you're wrong. I hope you're wrong. And Kipling has shown up, sending God's blessings to all. Kippy, I hope that you're feeling good and that life's treating you well. Boy, you have a lot to be thankful for, a lot. And we have all been praying for you. So keep on trucking. You'll be fine. All right, now, let's take a first little break here, and then we will return with the National Report.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Boy, yo, they gonna fly with kite now. The wind picking up.
I'm coming. Karim, what you doing?
Fly my kite.
Yeah, but not here. You can't fly kite near power lines, boy.
Why not? The wind good.
Because mommy say, kite threads conduct electricity.
Yeah, kite. He's right. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, it can cause power outages, or even worse, it can get shocked.
Come, let's go and fly them in the pasture.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kite threads conduct electricity. Do not fly kites near overhead power lines. This can lead to electric shocks and power outages. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, do not try to retrieve it. Release it and call GRENADA. Always fly kites in open areas. Keep your kites far away from roads. And remember, always clean up after yourself.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Woburn Methodist captures 2019 Disaster Awareness Quiz Championship. Details of this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back. With the details of the news for Friday, June 7th, I am Sherry-Ann Noel. Woburn Methodist School emerged champion of the 2019 Annual Disaster Awareness Primary School Quiz, which ran from May 9th to June 6th. Over 35 schools participated in the preliminary round of competition, with 14 zones, with 6 moving on to the final round. The students were quizzed on topics related to hazards, climate change, and disaster preparedness. The quiz is geared towards increasing awareness of comprehensive disaster management within primary schools and to sensitize students and teachers on measures to reduce disaster risk. Disaster Management Minister Senator Dr. Winston Garwe stressed the importance of involving students in the advocacy of preparedness and management.
You can encourage moms and dads, your brothers and sisters at home, that we should not dispose of plastics and any other implement that can degrade or destroy the environment and thus put us in a worse off situation to create the proliferation of breeding spaces or breeding sites for the Aedes aegypti mosquitoes.
Ministry of Education Representative Otto Pear said change of culture starts with the young minds. He said engaging young people will provide the shift needed to develop a culture of preparedness.
If we have to instill preparedness, if we have to put mitigation things in place, we have to start with our young people. And I'm happy to be one of the persons supporting in the representation of the Ministry of Education to ensure that our young people begin to develop a culture of disaster preparedness, develop a culture of really protecting our environment and ensuring that we have a place to live in the future.
St. John's Anglican School placed second in the competition, followed by St. Joseph's RC in third position. The other schools in the final were St. Andrew's Anglican Primary, Hermitage Government, and Dover Government School. Still with news on disaster preparedness, NADMA's clarion call to Grenadians to be prepared was resounded on Friday during the agency's open house in front of the Bruce Street Mall in St. George. The open house was held in commemoration of Disaster Awareness Week, which concluded on Friday. Many equipment were on display to build awareness on the importance and use of the items in each household in the event of a disaster. NADMA says they are ready but need the support of the public to ensure collective preparedness. Public Relations Officer Austin Crosby gave some insight of the event and the plans that the agency has in store.
The reason for this, it was aimed at increasing our engagement tools with the public. We know that we work every year around this time, especially around the hurricane season. People always pay that special attention to NADMA, even though what we do is guided by comprehensive disaster management, which means that we work year-round, all hazards, preparing for all the hazards that have the potential of affecting us. Around this time of year is when we come under the spotlight. Yeah? So what we would have done was use the start of the season, June 1st, as a time when we use it as an opportunity to bombard the public with information as it relates to preparedness.
She says the response from the public is commendable and they are striving to improve.
So far, it has been great. We will continue to do this because at the end of the day, it is not just getting the responses that you want to hear, but it's also getting the recommendations, the suggestions, the criticism. From there we can build.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
The countdown is on to Grenada's most exciting music festival. Friday, 7th June is Sol EC Limited Rhythm and Soul Night with Kerry Hilson, the legendary Freddie Jackson, Eddie Bullen, and Jefferson Ramirez. Saturday, 8th June is Wester Hall Rum Reggae Fest featuring Busy Signal, Maxi Priest, Kimani Marley, Tamara St. Bernard, and more. The festival climaxes on Sunday, 9th June with a George F. Huggins Soca Fusion featuring the All-Stars with Teddyson John and Blacks, Patrice Roberts, Wes Ways, Jab King, then more. Gates open 7 p.m., showtime 9 p.m. Advance tickets $80 Friday and Saturday, $60 on Sunday, and are available island-wide. Limited VIP and season tickets at Grenada Optical and GoToFet.com. Grenada Music Festival 2019. Get your tickets today. Sponsors: Silver Sands Grenada, Hennessy, the Antillian Group, Coca-Cola, St. George's University, Glen Elch Springwater, and Netherlands Insurance.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Agriculture has placed youth in agriculture high on its agenda for 2019 as it promotes employment opportunities, markets, and money management within the agriculture sector. On Thursday, June 6, the ministry concluded its series of Youth in Agriculture symposiums. Thursday's symposium was organized by the Eastern Agricultural District and was held at the Sam's Inn at Dunfermline, St. Andrew. Mina Booker, Public Relations Officer in the Ministry of Agriculture, has more in this report.
39 persons, including farmers, youth in the field of agriculture, and staff of the Eastern Agriculture District, participated in the forum. The Ministry of Agriculture is confident that information disseminated can augur well for participants and will aid in job efficiency of staff. Presentations were made from sponsor Arise Credit Union, the National Insurance Scheme, and Guyana and Trinidad Mutual or GTM Insurance. The presentation focused on managing finances and further underscored the importance of long-term plans in order to promote sustainable futures. The working sessions under these symposiums were a step away from the customary training in production practices put on by the ministry, and it was in this regard that the Chief Extension Officer in the Ministry of Agriculture, Randolph Shears, said the management of finances by farmers is of utmost importance.
We train generally on production practices, Ms. Ogilvy, but how to do, why you should do it, why you should not do it, and so on. We train our staff on, and our farmers also, on marketing, post-harvest practices, and so on. You know how to keep records, and the list can go on and on. But for the last two sessions and for this session, the focus has changed, in that we are going to teach you, farmers and officers, how to manage. Remember I said the word manage, I'm repeating after Mr. Lazarus. He said manage, and Mr. Mark, how to manage your finances.
Knowing that farming can be as sustainable as farmers would want it to be, District Supervisor for the North, Mr. Maximus Lazarus, encouraged young farmers to look towards self-investment if they are to have a viable future. He urged the participants also to assess their livelihoods and goals.
Ask yourself, examine yourself, call yourself by name, check your age. Ask yourself, what will life be for me by 2030, boy? Who in society I see now that I would like to be as then? And you set your goals. But goal setting is not all. After you set your goal, you have to have a strong desire to achieve your goal.
Participants in the Youth in Agriculture Symposium spoke of the lessons derived from the session.
The session was interesting, the fact that it was concerning money management, right? So I think that is important, because I think what happens to us as even as young people is that we're concerned about making money, right? But what happens is that after that we do not know exactly what takes place with our money. So I think managing it is quite important, right? And so the way in which it was done today, I think is very important. Bringing in the NIS and the insurance and the credit union and so to help us realize that there are institutions that are there to help us in those situations.
I plan to implement it into my daily life, because what I'm hearing today based on this forum is very interesting and very thought-provoking. And it's not only a session for today, but it's a session for our lives, also for retirement and beyond. And we can also encourage people to use these sort of examples.
First of all, I must say the session was very informative. It was very educational. We want to thank the facilitators, because at the end of the day, I being agriculture, it was a boost, especially for the young people, and an encouragement for them. You understand? Because even as of now, you know, the young farmers are interested in getting a loan, even a savings plan, or educational plans for their children. So at the end of the day, it was very, very timely. So I must say, and I want to, even from the Eastern Agriculture District standpoint, we want to thank all those institutions that came today.
The Youth in Agriculture Symposium was held under the theme, Securing Your Future Through Financial Empowerment. A total of 79 farmers, together with staff members from each district, benefited from the series of symposiums facilitated by the Ministry of Agriculture. The Ministry of Agriculture remains committed to the success of young farmers and viability of the local agricultural sector. For the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Mina Booker.
That story just ended the national report for today, Friday, June 7th, 2019. Let's recap the top story. Woburn Methodist captures 2019 Disaster Awareness Quiz Championship. On behalf of everyone who made this newscast possible, I am Sherian Noel.
Alrighty, so there you have it, today's edition, or Friday's edition of the National Report. I only see one comment here this morning about the report from Margaret, and Margaret says, as a reporter, you never give your mic to the subject. And I sat here chuckling, Margaret, because I remembered years ago in Montreal, many, many years ago, this is more than 30 years ago when I first got into this business, I made that mistake. And the gentleman rambled and rambled and rambled to the point where I wanted to get the mic back. And when I reached out to try and grab the mic back from the guy, he was ready to fight with me, didn't want to give it up. So yeah, good tip there, Mags. You never give the microphone to the subject you're talking to. Okay, folks, let's take a little break here, and then we'll come back with a very, very interesting segment.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Coop Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call GRENADA at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. For more information, visit grenadac.com.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
My name is Kizzy Marisha. I've been a confectionery maker 16 years now. Well, as a child growing up, my grandmom always make fudge and always make any candies, cakes, as I remember. And I always have an interest in that, you know? It's like when I'm in the kitchen, I'm very happy. If you're making coconut fudge, you just grate the coconut, you squeeze the milk, and then you strain it, and then you add your sugar, and then you put it to boil. And then after, when you reach a certain stage, you get thick. So you got to beat it. Then after, when you beat it, you pour it out. And then wait for a few minutes to get hard. And then you slice it, you cut it, and then after you break it up, and then you package it. Yeah. Providing food for 16 years now. I remember when I just go dropping in the fudge, I was a bit younger too. And I met Miss Harris. So I went here and said, you know, I have a product here, some fudge. I was wondering if you'll be interested to take some fudge or candies from me. I showed her, she said, you look very nice, you know? So she said, I'll try it. So she told me to bring back some another day. So that's when I started, but Miss Harris took it from me. And then they would start, so, you know. I had a good relationship with them. Of course, I felt special, you know, at least somebody taking my thing local. And, you know, other people can see it, because if I just have it, not much people come. A lot of people comes in, they're foreigners. So it was kind of special, you know. And especially when I go in there, all the workers is very nice to me. If I pass and they say, Kizzy, you bringing anything this week for the thing finished? You know, they always look out for me. That's what I like. The atmosphere is nice in there. My name is Kizzy Marisha. I work with Food Fair to provide you with sweet treats.
Good morning to you, Sean, out there in the Azores. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Would you guys believe that Sean is not even a Grenadian, but here's a guy who is so concerned about us and the environment specifically. He joins us all the time to see what's cooking here. Thanks a lot, Sean, for caring. Just before I fire up, by the way, Sean's saying good morning to the Grenadian people. Just before I fire up this next piece here, I want to ask you guys, I have not seen any comments this morning about dropouts, which could very well mean that you have not been seeing dropouts. So, if you do please, when you get back, just first of all, refresh Facebook or the GrenadaBroadcast.com website and put a note on there on the forum just to let me know, okay? We're doing some checks here. Now, pilgrims, where are we? Here we go. Yesterday morning, I had a gentleman by the name of Kennedy Roberts in here with me. Came in to talk about the plans for the upcoming convention of the National Democratic Congress. But we also took the opportunity to talk about universal health coverage. And boy, we touched on a number of topics, including things like good governance, national development, and a whole bunch of issues. When you put all those things together, it turned out to be a very stimulating discussion. And I really want to share that with you this morning. So check it out. Stick up in, because I want you to explain.
Right.
People are hearing a lot about universal health coverage, UHC.
Right.
Piece by piece, Kennedy, explain it to me.
Okay. Now, the world has come to the realization that no matter how many doctors you have, no matter how many hospitals you have, your health system, what makes the function, your information system, your pharmaceutical and procurement, yes, your healthcare delivery, how it is financed, your workforce, your infrastructure, your technology. These things have to work in harmony to improve the quality of life of people. So universal health coverage is saying, listen, all these elements must work in harmony. We cannot address financing unless we address the information system and our delivery of care and these other components of the health system. So universal health coverage is saying that everyone in your population, everyone means 100% of your population, should have access to quality health care when they need it, without having to pay at the point of service. Meaning you need to have a mechanism to raise money, like national health insurance, to pool it, to manage it, to pay our providers. But we have to look first and foremost at the quality of our healthcare being delivered. And when we talk about quality of care, it is not quality of sickness services that is provided. We're talking about primary health care. We're talking about prevention. We're talking about focusing on early childhood so that the brain of every Grenadian baby is developed to its fullest potential, so that when they get to age 5 and in preschool, they can maximize their learning potential. We have to look at our primary school system and integrate health into it, so that our children would develop values and morals, because health is not just about physical health. It is also mental and social well-being. So if we have to deal with our coping skills as adults, it has to be inculcated while they're children. So school health programs and comprehensive school health programs mean that your school is the center of your community. And again, Dr. Didicus Jules did a presentation last week at the Conference on the Revolution, which highlighted the way in which education was addressed during the Revolution. And the reality is that was a school-centered approach, where the school as the center of learning in your community is not shut down at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You had the school where the community participated in the teaching of the children. We know on Fridays when the teachers go to the NISTEP program, people from the community go into the schools. Parents are involved, but rather than have PTAs, you should have community associations, school associations. So health has to be integrated into our school system. Health also has to be integrated into our agriculture. Agriculture in Grenada has been on the back burner. Nutrition is so important. They're telling us about fruits and vegetables to reduce your cholesterol, to reduce obesity, to reduce hypertension. Everything they're telling you, eat your vegetables and fruits. How are we really producing? How are we using our agriculture system to feed into our school feeding programs? So again, these linkages must be there. How do we care for our elderly? Our elderly in Grenada are going through real stress. And if we are lucky, Brother George, we might get old one day. And we want to know that there are systems in place to help elderly persons with their quality of life. So when we talk about health employment, there's a UN report on health employment and economic growth that I've been talking about for the last couple of years too. It tells you we need to focus on wellness. In our school system, we have social workers, one per school. We need to have social workers at every form level. So these social workers can really work with the students and their parents and community. We need workers who can help support our elderly population in a structured way. But we need leadership, and that is what the health sector is lacking most. And because I think Dr. Mitchell is tired, he knows that if he steps down, his party is dead because he has no succession planning in there. And I was part of the system, and I've seen over the years how Dr. Mitchell has become the absolute leader. Everybody depends on him for their survival. So if he steps aside, nobody can have the ability to pull. So that is why Dr. Mitchell is going to remain as political leader of NNP. He's going to be running in the next election. But this time around, he's going to realize that people are not going to be fooled by the antics of the last election. And people are going to look at the issues. They're going to look at the quality of life. They're going to look at this last 25 years and determine, have we really progressed? Has the Imani program really helped young people? And young people are realizing that it is just a plan to keep them as supporters so you get a little stipend. But all these issues are linked to, for example, NIS not getting revenue.
Subservience. Okay, I don't want to leave healthcare yet. We're still talking healthcare. Where does the government, you just gave us a nice definition or explanation of the universal health coverage. Where does the government stand on that? Or do they have a stance?
Well, interestingly, during the last election, I remember there was an article in one of the papers, is it NHI or UHC? And the government was saying NHI is what they're promoting, even though at the international level they are accepting the importance of universal health coverage. George,
I don't understand that.
Because I've been telling them for years that they must do it. They must say it eventually.
UHC.
Yes, they must say it eventually. But their ego, and this Minister of Health ego is surpassing his ability to perform.
Wasn't he just at a conference?
Yes, he was at the World Health Assembly. He came back to Grenada and said nothing about universal health coverage. Now, I get the reports and from these meetings. So as soon as it finished, I got the summary of the resolutions passed and the conclusions. And apart from others, I focus on the three relating to universal health coverage. Go back to primary health care. Focus on quality of care of services in the community which people live in. Secondly, focus on your community health workers, and your health workers are the ones who really drive the system. And the third one, they're planning for a global meeting at the UN in September to look at universal health coverage. So while the world is pushing it, while we are agreeing up with it internationally, this Minister of Health has decided that he's not going to use the word. Even in the health plan that they have 2016 to 2025, his introduction talk about health as an investment rather than health as a human right. They make reference to universal health coverage once when they talked about a workshop held in 2014 to look at universal health coverage. Their plans and programs are not designed to achieve our sustainable development goals. This government is depending on Dr. Mitchell and his political savviness to win an election, to rule this country, rather than to govern this country in the interest of people. And that is why the NDC is saying, listen, people out there who have an interest in contributing to their country, step forward now. This is the time when we have to show Grenadians that NDC is alive. And all of us have to step up. I would like to see 10 potential leaders emerging to say, let us contribute and work as a team. One will eventually become the leader. And I believe that the public wants to see that happen sooner than later.
Two things. Kennedy, one. The people of Grenada over the years have heard promise after promise after promise. Them guys ain't good. We the answer. we are the solution. Hasn't happened, Kennedy. Hasn't happened. And to tell you the honest truth, I don't know if and when it will ever happen. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is, in the absence of an apparent interest from by the current health minister in universal health coverage, do you think that there is enough of a push out there to make UHC happen?
I believe we have to really hope that the Prime Minister takes some action on this, because he's the one that ultimately leads his government. And it is so glaring what is happening. I can't understand how they could be so daft to not see the importance of this universal health coverage approach. But the thing is, it entails consultation with your people. Universal health coverage says that as we talk about primary health care and we talk about it, we need to talk to our people. People need to be involved in the process.
Need to talk to our people. And the reason why I'm asking this, I promised earlier on that I was going to run the segment that you did on MECWE Chat about universal health coverage. And one of the things that jumped out at me in that segment is that you were complaining that, yes, there's a lot of talk about consultations taking place out there, but they seem to be misinterpreting consultation to mean the fact that you go out and tell your constituents this, and not really paying attention to what your constituents are saying to you. Consultation's a two-way street.
And that is why, George, again, it's a lot of policy issues. We have to really realize the importance of local government. We should be having local government in Carriacou as constitutionally stated, and we should be having it in Grenada. We should be giving the community an opportunity to discuss issues in a structured, sustainable way. So that is a policy issue. And that is why the NDC is going to be going out there, and we're going to start some meetings. We're going to start some dialogue. And over the next few weeks, you're going to be hearing about our outdoor, indoor activities where we're going to be having that dialogue with the people.
Are those activities going to be sustainable?
Well, I hope that Papa God is going to give us the ability to pull together a team that would see the importance of saving Grenada now. And if we start something and the momentum picks up, I believe that Grenada is in for a very good time.
And you're right, you know, Kennedy, Grenadians have become very complacent after having been disappointed, used, and abused so many times. That, you know, it's like they're throwing their hands back up in the air and saying,
You see, George, we're losing the love. We are losing our love for each other. We're losing that basic respect and interaction that can help us go to the next level. We are realizing, at least I have realized based on my experience with this government, that they don't want to include people in nation building. They don't want to see...
Don't want to include some people. Because there are some people who are doing very,
they don't want to
very
include
well.
Everybody.
All right.
You know, and those of us who have the ability to contribute are not being addressed. We're not being included. And yes, they will tell me, oh, yes, we've indicted you to this. Yeah, but if you talk, and no action is taken in that direction, not even the verbal indication that, yes, universal health coverage is not about NDC. It's about Grenada. It's about the region. It's about the world. The current director of PAHO, Dr. Carissa Etienne, is from Dominica. Her mission is to implement universal health coverage in the region. And I know her well, and I know she's concerned about Grenada. She's concerned that we are not looking at the issue in a holistic way. We are not interested in people, we're interested in money. And that is the focus of this government. They're focusing on the money part without realizing that the people part must go hand in hand. So yes, NHI is important. National Health Insurance, I've been working on that since 1995. I am the person, when working at the OECS, that reached out to the region. Our report for Grenada was in 1996. If we had taken some incremental steps, we would not have been talking about that today. We would have been a model, and the region would have been better for it. But this government has gone through the motion, and 25 years has passed, 24 years since they came in office in 95, and they're realizing that, listen, nothing has happened. They go on retreat, but same khaki pants. And unless we look at our reality in Grenada, get more from our people, get more from St. George's University, get more from the University of the West Indies, because there are a lot of people willing to help us.
And you're sure SGU is one of them?
I am positive. I've been down there for 20 years. And I have a mandate and an official letter telling me to say this, but I know that our health department, the Department of Public Health and Preventive Medicine, can do a lot more with our health system. Even though most of our students are now online and not physically in Grenada, but there's a lot we can do. We have faculty, we have visiting professors, we have students in the medical school who are into public health, and we can do a lot more. But that dialogue needs to be at different levels, not just at the highest level.
All right, let me ask you this. We've heard a promise that the NHI, National Health Insurance, is going to be launched, I think, in the first quarter of next year. You've heard that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but
realistic, Kennedy?
No, it isn't. In the same way, you remember in September, October 2016, they said it's going to be implemented in July 2017? And I told them the same thing. If at this stage we do not have that dialogue with our health practitioners, not just the doctors, but our nurses and other health workers who are working out in the community, let us know how they're going to be improving what they're delivering out there. Let the people know where they're going to access care. They say they're having consultation now, but they should be able to know these things if they're looking at a rollout date, because when you see, they also know in the literature and so on, it is clear that timing of implementing health financing reform is important. And it is generally argued that any government who wants to successfully implement financing reform needs to do that in their first 2 years in office. Because as you get closer to an election, it becomes more difficult to implement health financing options where you taxing people. So the government feel that they have 15-0 now, so they could tax you for NHI. And they're trying to do it fast so it could be done in first 2 years. But you need to do it properly. And doing it properly entails dialogue. And I must say that I am very sympathetic to the workers in the NHI Secretariat. I know they mean well. I know my colleagues from the University of the West Indies who have been advising them means well, but they have told me they're doing what the government asked them to do. They're not here to talk about universal health coverage and Grenada health policy. They're here to do a consultancy looking at the costs of providing health services and how to implement NHI. And I told them they're doing us a disservice. I'll try to get a recording that I did a presentation in Suriname last year where I was very critical of their approach. They were not happy with my presentation, but I told them I did it with love, because I love Grenada more than I love the University of the West Indies. And while they can get a consultancy for how much, hundreds or thousands of dollars, I want to see that to the benefit of the Grenadian people. And I believe that the consultation and the work they're doing on national health insurance now should really be done within the context of universal health coverage and talk about that. But if they don't understand it properly, then it's hard to push something.
Let me ask you this. You know, it's one thing to have a high caliber of medical professionals, but it's something else to have a high caliber workforce. There have been a lot of complaints about the attitude of some of the people in the workforce. I have no doubt that a lot of it is exaggerated, because I have been treated in this hospital and received wonderful care. Okay? But how do we change the mindset of our workforce? Because this universal health care, that's great. It's great. But Kennedy, we need the people to enforce it. Is that where you talk about a lack of leadership?
Well, apart from the ministerial leadership, which is totally lacking, Our chief medical officer, I know him for a very long time, since we were teenagers, right? He did his MPH with us. He did his medical degree in Cuba. He did his MPH at St. George's University. I know Dr. Mitchell means well, but I think...
George Mitchell.
Dr. George, our chief medical officer.
Yeah.
I think he means well, but I believe he's constrained in several ways.
As are a lot of people in high office.
And he's not talking the language either. He knows about universal health coverage, but I can't understand if he's afraid of the politician, because I know that took a while to appoint him, and there's some other political issues around that, but I believe that he should step up and say something. Our permanent secretary is administrative, and I don't expect her to talk about that, but it's a policy issue. And if the chief medical officer is supposed to be advising on policy, he should really advise his minister to let Grenada take precedence over his ego.
Like you say, Kennedy, he's probably very, very well-intentioned, and he's not the only person in this country who is well-intentioned and wants to serve this country well. But there are a lot of people who are scared stiff to speak out.
Certainly.
And say things.
No, it is real. People are telling you, boy, if I go and open my mouth there, you think my daughter will get a scholarship?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And the thing is, and when I talk about lack of leadership too, April 7th is World Health Day. Last year, our minister didn't give a speech for World Health Day. This year, the World Health Organization used the same theme. Guess what? Universal health coverage. Everyone, everywhere. That is the theme for last year and this year. That was the theme for the WHO Assembly in Geneva last month. So I think our media practitioners, and I've told on other stations that why aren't you asking these questions? Why at the post-cabinet meeting aren't you asking them about universal health coverage and why they're so silent on it? But guess what? Eventually they will say it, and it would be interesting to hear what they say and what action they will take, because the action is simply going to your people and coming up with a plan where they're involved and they see it revolves around them.
All right.
And the money is going to come.
All right. You say so?
No, the money's been spent already. So the money is already in the system. But how it is spent, rather than out of your pocket and paying when you need care, there must be some other mechanism. But I believe that discussion is not yet mature to implement in next year.
All right, Kennedy. I want you to give the Grenadian people hope. I don't think nobody that I know would deny that our healthcare system is in the shambles. It's an embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
Kennedy, obviously, in the run-up to the next election, you guys are going to be touting, that you are the solution.
Mm-hmm.
But my friend, there is a lot of skepticism and cynicism out there, because we the people, to coin a phrase of a friend of mine, have been lied to so many times, and I hate to be so blunt, but I can't lie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kennedy, take the next few minutes, my friend. Try and convince us that, even though it may be just a teeny weeny little bit of hope, that there will be a difference, Kennedy.
Now, George, I think most Grenadians want to see something happen to give Grenada that lift.
I agree.
I believe that while even the NNP supporters who saying Grenada doing well economically, they have been telling me too that they realize things tough in Grenada. They're acknowledging that we are not doing the best we can. So they're acknowledging, yes, we're doing good, but we could do a lot better. And I believe that the NDC is at this stage of reorganizing, where Grenadians, both inside and in the diaspora, have to step up with their level of commitment to country. Within NDC also, we have to realize that we need to be more united. NDC has a history that people are wondering, listen, you will always have some internal breakup and fight. We need to show the love within the NDC. Our symbol is the heart, and I believe that Grenadians have to acknowledge that NDC is the alternative to the NNP. There is no other alternative politically in Grenada right now, and it takes the rebuilding of NDC to give Grenada that hope. I am playing a role as the interim public relations officer to reach out and try to ask our supporters to become members of the party. We have an approach that would be inclusive of everyone. And sometimes people say, well, if NNP people in charge now, if we come out, we have to get rid of. And I believe this is one of the things that we have to break that cycle. I believe that our democracy can go to the next level where we have structures in place to facilitate that dialogue. And based on what the NDC is saying, we are committed to implement that local government in Carriacou, and we are committed to implementing a program on the mainland to have continuous consultation with the people, because people needs to feel involved. People needs to feel that their contribution is worthwhile and their quality of life can improve. We have to take a team approach, and we have to talk seriously with all the stakeholders in Grenada. We have to make the private sector feel comfortable that the NDC want to work with them to get things at another level. We have to show the farmers that we are serious about agriculture to feed ourselves, feed our children in our school systems, feed our communities. And yes, like manufacturing, we know we had it before. We can can mangoes. We can can tamarind juice. We can can soursop. We've done it before. So we have to show the Grenadian people that the policies of the NDC, and if they look at the manifesto and the plan of 2016, a lot of it is in there. But the key element is we will have dialogue with the people. We will include the people in nation building. We're going to be open and transparent in what we do. It's not no hiding contracts So the NDC is open for business, and we want to work with all Grenadians.
I certainly hope your holding of dialogues will be different from the current modus operandi when it comes to holding dialogues.
No, policies should be problem-centered. We need to identify the problems and see how we can get solutions. There's a simple model in health policy. It starts with the problem. So once you clearly define the problem, but if you define the wrong problem, your solutions, like NDC is committed to the involvement of people and looking at universal health coverage and doing these things. But we have to get the people to support that agenda.
All right. You mentioned engaging the diaspora. I have no doubt. Listen, I know that there are a lot of people out there who are willing to help. But Kennedy, just this past week, I noticed on social media that the diaspora was being lambasted because somehow the person who was doing that feels that the people out there in the diaspora think that they know it all. They have all the answers. They cock up the tail in New York or Toronto or wherever and open them out. Huh? That was on Facebook this past week. Now, having said that, a lot of them fall into that category. But I will be the first to tell you, having taken this program on the road, Toronto, Montreal, New York, London, I know that there are a lot of people out there in the diaspora who have bent over backwards and busted their chops to try and make us have a better life here in Grenada. Okay?
And they're not appreciated.
And they're not appreciated.
That is why I feel we can do a lot more. And, it takes money to do things. And yes, the NDC has to reach out there and also ask members to contribute financially, because we need to go out there and talk to people. We need to be able to produce things. And we're doing a lot of fundraisers. We have a couple things planned coming up in the next several months. And hopefully October is the anniversary of the party. We're going to have a series of activities in October leading up to the convention. So especially after Carnival, there's going to be a greater hype. But over the next 6 weeks prior to Carnival, we're going to be doing some things to really show Grenadians that the party is back on track and we're serious about governance of Grenada.
Hello. Yeah, he's here. He's here. There you have it. That's an excerpt from yesterday's edition of Sundays with George Grant. Moving stuff. Moving stuff. Pilgrims, I see some comments here. Dennis Perkins out there in England says, like here in the UK, care from cradle to grave. If it comes to Grenada, look after it like the crown jewels. Thank you, Dennis. Sean says, love what this guy is saying. As an environmentalist, it is worth noting that nearly all our environmental problems stem from social problems. Healthcare and basic human needs for all. That is not a dream. That is a possibility we can create. So says Sean. Lauren says, I hope that lots of Grenadians are listening. Yeah, folks. Yeah. Well, I hope that on this Whitsuntide Monday, that information has been informative to you. I really do. And I hope you learned something. We're going to take a quick little break, and we'll come back, wrap it up.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
All right, pilgrims, let's see here, 8 minutes after the hour. Thank you so much for joining us this morning as we pull the curtain down. Some inspirational words from the book of Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 10, verses 10, 11, and 12. God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown to him as you have helped his people and continue to help them. We want each of you to show the same diligence to the very end, so that what you hope for may be fully realized. We do not want you to become lazy, but to imitate those who through faith and patience inherit what has been promised. I hope that sets you off on the right track this week. Hebrews chapter 10, verses 10 and 12. Okay. Here comes a note from Dennis. He says, George, we're still dropping out every 20 to 30 seconds. Dennis, I'll tell you, this morning, again, I was monitoring this on my little iPhone. Take a look right there. Perfect. Not a flicker, let alone a dropout. Okay? And I have not seen, I'm pleasantly surprised this morning that I have not seen other comments besides yours, and thank you so much. So I'm assuming that this morning's stream was a pretty good stream. This makes it all so difficult to pinpoint exactly where the problem is because, like I said, I'm monitoring this on my iPhone, and what I'm monitoring here is actually the GRENADABROADCAST.com website, which is actually using the Facebook website. Yet, no dropouts on the website. Yet, on my PC over here, dropouts like you wouldn't believe, every 20 to 30 seconds, like you say. So, we'll get to the bottom of it. We will get to the bottom of it. My dear friends, on that note, Georgie Porgy, hold on, Margaret says she had a good stream on Android. See? Good stream here as well. So let's put our heads together and figure out where this little hassle really resides. Today being a holiday, I think it was Easter. I took Easter Monday off, but I couldn't do this to you again. I had to come on here this morning. And I'm still toying with the idea of whether or not we're going to do Corpus Christi. Next Thursday, I think it is. Yeah? I'll let you know sometime between now and then. In the meantime, I wish you and yours a wonderful week. Truly blessed. And by God's grace, we'll see you again tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock.